Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you a sort of review and demonstration of the Marie's gouache set that I have. Now, I've talked about this set of gouache on this channel before when I compared it to an expensive brand of gouache, which was my Holbein gouache, but I felt like my gouache skills and my understanding of the medium weren't really at a place where I was able to adequately test it and feel comfortable with the piece that I produced. So I wanted to dedicate a separate video specifically to this gouache so that I could talk to you guys a bit about it a bit more and hopefully do it a bit more justice. Okay, so I'm kind of jumping around here and I was recording the end of this voiceover, but I forgot to tell you guys something really important, and that is thank you. Thank you for 10,000 subscribers. I'm so happy and I'm so honored. And I want to do a Q&A next week. So next Thursday, I want to do a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions at all about me or the art that I do or the channel or anything like that, just leave your comments down in the comment section and I will answer those for you next week, as many of them as I can, hoping that you guys have things that you actually want to know about me. And thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. I'm blown away. You're all amazing. Okay, now we're gonna get back to the normal part of the voiceover here. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes. So as you can see here, I'm just swatching out all of the 18 colors that come in the set, and I got my set from jerrysartarama.com, and when I got it, it was on sale. So I actually only paid $7 US for this set, and the normal price of the gouache is $10. So you're getting 18 tubes of 12 milliliter tubes for $10. So it's definitely super affordable as far as gouache goes. I'm pretty happy with the range of colors available, with one exception, and as you can see, the colors vary a lot in transparency. There's actually only a couple of colors that I would consider to be opaque. A lot of them are semi-opaque and some of them are actually fairly transparent. So here are a couple of pieces that I have done with this gouache in the past. The one on the left is from fall or so of last year, and the one on the right is from last week. So I have used this gouache before, and what I'm going to be doing today is just picking out a couple of colors that I like, and I try to limit my palettes because if I have too many different colors, the colors get all over the place, and by choosing just a few colors, like max 5 colors to work with, 3 is a really good number too. So somewhere from 3 to 5, it really helps me to kind of keep my colors a bit more cohesive. Now you're going to notice that the white I'm using is actually not the Marie's white. I'm using my M Graham white because you may have seen in the swatches that this set actually comes with 2 whites, which would be a really good idea, except that the white is not really white. It's kind of an off-white beigey sort of color, so if you were working with watercolors, it reminds me a lot more of like a buff titanium, but it's not super white. So I've used it before and struggled with it, and it made it really difficult for me to get my lightest values in, so I just decided to skip it this time. But I found that mixing these cheaper paints with a more professional quality or like a finer grade gouache, especially this white, kind of helps to up the overall quality of the gouache as a whole. So I actually struggled with this piece right out of the gate, and the primary thing I want to talk to you guys about, not only this gouache, but also working through struggles in art, because not every piece that we create is going to be a beautiful, perfect masterpiece, and this piece was definitely not so great for me. You can see I had my phone out for a while because I was floundering so much that I had my reference out and I was looking at my reference way too much. I usually struggle a lot when I try to stick too close to a reference instead of allowing myself to artistically interpret things. It usually works out a little bit rougher if I stress too much about a reference. So when I started with this piece, I was struggling right away because you'll notice that I was kind of watering down a lot of my edges and I was approaching it way too much like watercolors. I had just been working on a watercolor piece. I was kind of doing like gouache by day and watercolor by night, so I was working on 2 pieces at the same time, and so my brain wasn't making that transition accurately from watercolor to gouache, so in the beginning of this I actually struggled a lot. There are some textures here, sorry about my headphones and my big old head in the frame there. There's some of the textures that I really liked in the beginning, but I felt like it wasn't really working out the way that I wanted it to, and that was actually quite a big struggle for me. And then of course, for some reason on the nose, I just suddenly started using it more opaquely, and those things didn't fit in at all anymore. And there was just a lot of little decisions I was making while working on this piece that added up to the whole thing kind of not working out. And here I made an interesting artistic choice and decided to just almost quite literally just paint a rainbow on her neck, and I'm not exactly sure why I decided to do that. I actually kind of like it, but I didn't start to feel like I was really working with gouache until I got to these more abstract elements of the piece. So once I moved away from the skin and started working on the background and the hair, I started to go, okay, I'm working with gouache, and I started to be able to use it a little bit more opaquely and a little bit more abstractly, and focusing more on the brush strokes instead of trying to blend things out. And I know you can use your paint however you want. Don't let people tell you that you're using things wrong. Now, if you have a frustration in your process and you feel like the way you're using a medium may be a part of that frustration, then you may want to do some research and find out how other people who are successful in that medium use it. But just enjoy yourself, to be honest, and experiment and keep trying, because the first time I tried to use gouache was a very long time. I shouldn't say very long, like a year ago. I got some gouache, I painted one thing, hated it, and put it away for months. And I try to get it out every couple months. I get my gouache out because I go, gouache is fun, I like gouache. And then I start something and I struggle with it and I get frustrated and I put my gouache away again for a couple months. And that's the cycle that we go through. And that's the kind of relationship that gouache and I have pretty much all the time. But lately I have been trying to push myself more to become more familiar with the medium and to get used to it a little bit more, because there's so many things about gouache that I really, really love. And I wanted to not let it defeat me. I wanted to keep trying, and this is where I stopped for the day. So I was frustrated, it wasn't really coming together, so I just stopped. For the day, I stopped painting, and I came back to it the next day. So now I'm actually going to be reactivating this gouache, which is going to be a fun experiment to see how that works. I had been working with it fresh out of the tube, and then now we're working with reactivated gouache. So it's kind of good to be able to show you guys how both of those things work. I set out to kind of bring in the colors of the skin. Things were getting kind of overwhelming, and I did something that I never do, which was I made an actual skin tone, like no rainbow skin tone, like a normal peachy sort of thing, and I just put it all over the place, which I never do that. Sometimes I'll start with a base skin tone, but I think I was getting so scared that I was going to ruin this piece and that it would be beyond saving that I did something outside of what I usually like to do and use the normal skin tone. And in the end, I'm not sure if I regret that or not. It did help me to kind of get a better focus on how to move forward with the piece, and it kind of brought things together a little bit. But after I did that, I started trying to add in more pinky, natural sort of tones, and I lost a lot of the form. So I don't really like the way her lips, her upper lip, that mandible area looks. I don't really like that. And I don't know, it was bad. I loved the sketch. The sketch was my favorite part of the whole piece. And then I started painting and I was like, oh no. And then I started with the hair and I was like, oh yes. And then I started again the next day and I was like, oh no. And then I started doing these little leaves and flowers and I was like, this is good. Okay. Yes, I like this. And in the end, I look at it and I go, I'm all right with putting this piece away and not looking at it again for a while. So does that make sense? I hope that I know I've been really rambly, but I hope you guys are getting used to it. Overall, I would say that this Marie's gouache It doesn't have that velvety matte finish that you would expect from gouache, like a professional quality gouache, but it's definitely paint, and it's definitely capable of being opaque. And so if you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna like working with an opaque medium, it's probably an okay place to start, especially for $10. I would recommend supplementing it with a higher quality white, though, and that would give you a more true to gouache sort of experience. And maybe because there's so many colors in the set, you could use it to supplement gouache that you already have, maybe. So ultimately, I'm definitely going to keep using this gouache. I'm going to keep trying and experimenting and trying to get better at gouache. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you again so much for 10,000 subscribers. Don't forget to leave your comments down below for next week's Q&A. And I hope you're having a wonderful week. I will see you next week. Okay, bye. Bye. Bye, guys. Okay, bye.